Let's continue going over Bahjat An-NaDHar. Over 400 questions and answers in the obligatory knowledge. Insha'Allah ta'ala, you are also testing yourself. Yani, so the answers are there presented on the screen before I even get a chance to read the question. But if you want, try not to look at the answer yet so you can just get the question and see if you know the answer, insha'Allah ta'ala. And we are on question 16. Wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The author says, question, what is the meaning of the sustainer when attributed to Allah, Ar-Raziq? Okay, my answer to that is Ar-Raziq, the sustainer, means the one who makes sustenance reach his slaves. Period. Brief, clear answer. But that's assuming that a person knows what sustenance means, what the word sustenance means, or the word rizq in Arabic. What does ar-raziq mean when attributed to Allah? Assuming that the person knows what the word rizq means, then my answer would be ar-raziq means the one who makes rizq reach his slaves. Let's see what's here. Answer, the sustainer, ar-raziq, is the one who provides the sustenance to his slaves. I think those are close enough. Sustenance, rizq, includes all the things that give a benefit to the person, whether from a lawful or unlawful source. Yes. So here, like it says here, yani, it's possible for this. Let me start that sentence again. As I said for you, assuming that a person knows what sustenance or rizq means. So this answer here is like what I said, because this second sentence is valid to be the answer to another question. Well, what does sustenance mean? You're asking what the sustainer means. I'm asking what the sustainer means. You tell me the sustainer means the one who provides the sustenance. What does sustenance mean? So if someone didn't know, then we can continue. I would probably stop though. I most likely, if someone asked me, what does it mean? I would say it means the one here says who provides. I would say he makes the sustenance reach, because that's what Sheikh said in some of his books. Yusilul arzaq. He makes the sustenance reach whomever he will to sustain. Says who provides. For me, the word provide is synonym for the word sustain. Yani ar-raziq, the sustainer, you could say ar-raziq means the provider. So instead of saying provides, I would say makes the sustenance reach, but I'm only nitpicking slightly here. The one who provides the sustenance, yani the one who makes the provision reach these slaves. And then I will stop there. And if a person has another question, he can produce his own question. What does sustenance mean? What does provision mean? Sustenance includes all the things that give a benefit to the person. Yes, yani. Sustenance is anything that benefits. Rizq, provision is anything that benefits. That's the definition of Ahlus Sunnah, the people of the prophetic way. That's the sustenance. That's the answer. That's the definition of sustenance for Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah, whatever benefits. Whether from a lawful or an unlawful source. So that's the meaning of sustenance according to Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah. As opposed to what then? As opposed to defining sustenance as what's lawful. That's not a proper definition for sustenance. To say sustenance is anything that's lawful. And as opposed to saying that sustenance means something you own, another wrong definition is to say sustenance is what you own. So then what's an appropriate definition? This one. Sustenance is what is beneficial, whether lawful or unlawful. What does it mean to say Allah makes it reach you? Take the example if you eat fish, that fish on your plate, it was swimming in the ocean somewhere. Maybe it was swimming in the ocean very, very, very far away from you. Somehow that fish who was living his life in the ocean somewhere found its way to your plate. Allah Ta'ala is the one who makes the sustenance reach his slaves. The answerer goes on and says, Allah Ta'ala said in Surah Hud, verse 6, وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا. This verse means, and there is no creature on earth, but that upon Allah is its provision. Yeah, or its sustenance. So here, this means here they are using the word provision and the word sustenance as synonyms here. Because you could take the word provision out here and put the word sustenance there. And there is no creature on earth but that upon Allah is its sustenance. Okay. Yeah, that's clear without going into any further details. Any question? What page is this? In the copy that I'm using, I'm on page 20. Question 17. What is the meaning of the knowledgeable, al-alim, when attributed to Allah? Okay, my answer would be it means the one attributed with knowledge. So that's assuming that a person knows what knowledge means. He's going to understand the answer. If he doesn't know what knowledge means, then that answer is not clear. What does knowledgeable mean? The one who has knowledge. Well, what does knowledge mean? Uh, so when I put it this way, the knowledgeable, the one who is knowledge answering a question, that the one who's knowledgeable means the one who has knowledge. There's a circle in the answer, a circle. Dawr. You usually want to avoid circular answers and you want to avoid circular arguments, usually. But sometimes there's no harm in a circular answer or a circular argument, a circular answer, not circular argument. Sometimes there's no harm in a circular answer. Circular means, Yani, come back to where you started. Started asking, what does knowledgeable mean? Then, so I bring you full circle by telling you knowledgeable means one who has knowledge. So if you never knew what knowledge means, then you don't know what the answer means. Like when some scholars said, what does ilm mean? Knowledge. They said knowledge means to know the known thing as it is. Knowledge is to know the known thing as it truly is. But knowledge, you are defining knowledge by telling me knowledge means to know the known thing. What does all of that mean? There's a circle in the answer. So, what's the status of such an answer? You can sometimes do that, like when you're keeping it simple for a person and assuming the person understands the words you are using, and let's say he does, then there's no harm here. But if you want to be technical, then you want to avoid that. You want to use a different word. What does knowledge mean? So some of them said knowledge means perceiving something, perceiving the realized thing as it truly is. They didn't say knowledge means knowing the known thing. They said knowledge means perceiving what is realized as it truly is. Just switch the words around so that you take the circle out of the answer. Let's see the answer that's here. Answer: Allah is knowledgeable, i.e., the one attributed with the eternal and everlasting attribute of knowledge that does not change, increase, decrease, or get renewed. Or you could just say, or renew. Or you could say, update. His knowledge does not update. Allah knows about everything before it happens. Okay, so there's a circle in the answer here. It's not a big deal, though, here. But if the person you're answering, if you are the one answering with this circular answer, if the person doesn't understand, then he should say, please, can you clarify for me what knowledge means? That's what you do if you want to know the answer to something. If you ask someone a question and his answer has a circle and you still don't know what he's saying, then ask your next question. It's like if you said to someone, "What did you say?" And he says, "I said what I said." Well, what does that mean? I don't know what you said. Then the answerer goes on. He said, "But one must understand language." Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yes, but even if you know a language, maybe sometimes you don't know what a word means. I didn't know the word transcend until I was in college. I didn't even know what it means. I went back to my friends. I said, "Man, professor is talking these big words like transcend." And then my man said, "You don't know what transcend means?" And then I was like, "Oh, that's what happens sometimes. A word never reach you all your life. Basic regular word." I even feel embarrassed telling you that right now. MashaAllah. So the answerer, he provides an ayah, which this is then an answer to another question. That other question could be, can you provide a religious evidence for this? And so then the answer would be, yes. Allah said in Surah Al-An'am, verse 59, وعنده مفاتح الغيب لا يعلمها إلا هو وعنده مفاتح الغيب لا يعلمها إلا هو ويعلم ما في البر والبحر وما تسقط من ورقة إلا يعلمها وما تسقط من ورقة إلا يعلمها ولا حبة في ظلمات الأرض ولا رطب ولا يابس ولا رطب ولا يابس إلا في كتاب مبين. This means only Allah knows about all the unforeseen, the ghaib, or the unseen. I'd put it with capital U though, personally. None knows them except Him. He has, very literally, He has the keys to the unseen. He has the keys to the unseen. That's a figure of speech because you use a key for a lock, not for the unseen. The unseen is, yeah, that's a figure of speech. What it means is that he knows all of it because the one who has the keys to something is the one who has access to it. The one who has the keys to something is the one who has access to it. So the meaning here is that he knows all of the unseen. La ya'lamuha illahu. No, none knows them except him. Hmm. First time I realized here, the ha goes back to my fatih. That's why them. No, none knows them. So he knows all about the unforeseen. None knows them, but it doesn't look like this word them has clear antecedent here. Because you'd say all of it, and unforeseen is singular. So them is plural. The pronoun them is plural. There's nothing plural in this sentence here. But you could maybe take it that way. Anyway, وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ. And he knows what is on the land and what is in the sea. وَمَا تَسْقُطُ مِنْ وَرَقَةٍ إِلَّا يَعْلَمُهَا. Not a leaf falls, but that he knows it. وَلَا حَبَّةٍ فِي ظُلُمَاتِ الْأَرْضِ. And no grain is there within the darknesses of the earth. وَلَا رَطْبٍ وَلَا يَابِسٍ. And no moist or dry thing is there. إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ. But that it is written in a clear record. Yes. And here you can use parentheses instead of brackets because you're enclosing the entire meaning in brackets here. So don't put brackets inside the brackets, put something else inside the brackets, like parentheses. Being written in a clear record is the guarded tablet. The clear record is the guarded tablet that contains the documentation of the destinies of everything in the world. Everything that shall happen in the dunya, that is. Everything that will happen until Judgment Day is recorded in the guarded tablet. It's a tablet. It's called in the Quran a kitab. And kitab here is translated as record. I agree with that there. Record. If you say book, then it gives a person an impression that he shouldn't necessarily have. And being written in that, mentioning that it's all written in this record is a signal to the knowledge of Allah. It's written there by the knowledge of Allah. Yani, in accordance with what Allah knows. Okay. If you have a question, go ahead. Question 18. What is the meaning of Al-Qadir when attributed to Allah? So my answer is Al-Qadir means the one attributed with power. And notice here, though, in the question, it's not translated. Al-Qadir is not translated in the question. It seems to me that the translator forgot to translate it because the translator translated everything else here. The knowledgeable, Al-Alim, and also here, the sustainer, Al-Raziq, and here, the creator, Al-Khaliq, and here, all these, the everlasting, Ad-Da'im, and alive, Al-Hayy. As for Al-Qayyum, it's not really translatable because it has many meanings, many ways of explanation. But me personally, when I look at all the ways you can explain Al-Qayyum, looks to me like Al-Qayyum means God. I mean, the one who controls everything, the one who has confirmed existence, the one who doesn't need anything, the one who, etc. All the different ways they explained it. Not to mention that this name Al-Qayyum can only be used for Allah. You can't use it for someone else. Okay, so here, as if they forgot to translate, Al-Qadir in the question. What is the meaning of Al-Qadir, the powerful or the powerful one, when attributed to Allah? Answer. Allah is powerful, Al-Qadir, i.e., so i.e. means the one attributed with the perfect power. Yes. And also what? There's a circle here in the question. But what's the proof for you that the circular answer, I mean, there's a circle in the answer, sorry. What's the proof for you that the circular answer is not necessarily wrong or harmful? The fact that these questions were fine for you until I pointed out to you that there's a circle there. So when those answers were fine for you until I pointed out the fact that there's a circle there, then shows you that the circular answer is not necessarily a bad thing. You sometimes want to use it just to keep it easy for a person. You said, is some of the above ayah in the metin of At-Tahawi? No, this is in the metin of Ibn Asakir. I didn't used to know that that's from the Quran. I studied Ibn Asakir before I knew Surah Al-An'am. And whenever I used to come to that part, I would say, man, the author, this is the best part of the whole metin. It sounds so nice. Hmm. And here it says in the answer, the perfect power. When I answered it, I said how I would answer this. What is the meaning of Al-Qadir? My answer would have been Al-Qadir means the one attributed with power. That's a simplified answer. If I answered this way, it means there's a detail I'm not mentioning. I'm just trying to keep the answer easy. Here, this word perfect, that's correct. Because there's a difference between Al-Qadir, that's what's being asked about, and Al-Qadir. My answer is really answering what's the meaning of Al-Qadir, the one who's attributed with power. The question, though, is what's the meaning of Al-Qadir? Then I said the one attributed with power and just keeping it simple for the one I'm answering. This answer is better than my answer, the one attributed with perfect power. And period. That's the answer to the question. Now, what follows could be the answer to another question. Yeah, Al-Qadir is spelled right here in the book. Al-Qadir, put a line under the A. Al-Qadir. Al-Qadir, put a line under the I. Bismillah. Al-Qadir, line under the I. Al-Qadir, line under the A. Then it's valid that the next sentence is the answer to another question, which is, what does power mean? And then the answer would be, or what does power of Allah mean? Or what does power mean when attributed to Allah? And then the answer would be, the power of Allah is an eternal and everlasting attribute by which Allah affects the mental possibility, meaning that which is possible mentally to exist at one time and not to exist at another. The power of Allah is not related to the mental necessity or to the mental impossibility. Hmm. That right there requires unpacking. There's a lot of information in those words. It's possible to answer that supposed question in another way, Yani, the question that I supposed. I supposed another question here. Yani, here. The power of Allah is an eternal and everlasting attribute. So I'm saying that's like an answer to another question. That other question would be, what does power mean when attributed to Allah? then I would say, if that were the question, the power of Allah is his attribute by which he creates and destroys. Creates, that means brings things into existence. And destroys means renders into nothingness, renders back to nothing, reduces back to nothing. And if I answered like this, I am not bringing up mental possibility, mental necessity, mental impossibility. Probably, I would expect that a person who's asking me these questions doesn't know what these words mean. And then I would just put them in my answer like that. Then I'll be charging myself with having to talk more and explain what those words mean. Now, I'm not saying that this shouldn't be here in the answer here. I'm just putting myself in the shoes of the one who's getting these questions and then answering them. How far would I go? What would I add or not add? All this talk here requires explanation. Explanation that is beyond the original question. What is the meaning of Al-Qadir when attributed to Allah? A lot beyond the original question, though. Not even a little bit, though. Far beyond the original question, because there's a lot of information there in those words. So if I'm just talking to a person on the street, I probably won't say all of that. I would say his power is his attribute by which he creates and destroys. And here's the answer to another question, which would be, do you have a reference for that? And the answer would be yes. Allah said in Surah Al Imran, verse 29, excuse me, وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. And he knows that which is in the heavens and that which is on the earth, and Allah has power over all things. The actual proof is just here. We don't need all of the ayah here, this part. Wallahu ala kulli shay'in qadir. And Allah has power over all things. Yani all possible things. Question 19. State the categories of mental judgment. Now, that's an interesting question because the text of the summary of obligatory knowledge does not address the intellectual judgments. If you read just in Mukhtasar, without explanation, just only the text of the Mukhtasar, does not say the mental judgments are such and such. So this question is not from the text itself. This question is from the explanation of the text. Until now, all these questions have been taken directly from the verbatim wording of the text of the Mukhtasar. MashaAllah, MashaAllah, MashaAllah. So the question is, state the categories of mental judgment or intellectual judgment. My answer for that would be the categories of mental judgments are the intellectual necessity, the intellectual possibility, and the intellectual impossibility, period. Maybe a person wouldn't understand that answer, but that's the answer to the question. Then I'll stop there and I'll let him ask his own question, such as, what does that mean? Here's the answer in the book. Answer: the intellectual judgment is of three categories: the necessary, the impossible, and the possible. Correct. That's the answer to the question up till there. The answer is done. Complete correct answer and brief. So, what comes after that is more information. The intellectual necessity is that which the mind cannot conceive its non existence. This refers to Allah and His attributes only, meaning what the intellectual necessity is what the mind says must exist, has to exist. Its existence is necessary. That's God. And when you say Allah and His attributes, you don't have to say and His attributes. If a person said that's God only, that's valid. And it's valid to say what's here. Allah and His attributes, both of those are valid. The intellectual impossibility is that which the mind cannot conceive its existence, like the existence of a partner to Allah. The intellectual impossibility, yani, is that which the mind does not accept its existence. Its existence is impossible to the mind, means cannot be, that which cannot be, according to the mind, sound mind. Like the existence of a partner to Allah or for Allah, or for God to be weak. That's impossible to the mind. Like if someone says to you, can God create a rock that he can't lift? You say to him, you asked me a question, and the answer to it is yes or no. And if I say yes, that's wrong. And if I say no, that's wrong. So that means that your question, you're really asking about an impossibility in the first place. Yani something that would not even be. Meaning your question is wrong. You have a wrong question in the first place. Or someone says, can God make someone like himself? Yes is a wrong answer. No is a wrong answer. Or someone says, can God destroy himself? Yes is a wrong answer and no is a wrong answer. This is impossible, what you are saying would not be. And if you were to say, does that mean he's weak then? The answer is no, it's not weak. Yani, your question is wrong. And if that one were to say, so you are putting limitations on God? I would say, no, the limitation is for the created thing, not for God. A created thing has limits. Like, you're asking me, can God create something that has no beginning? This doesn't even make any sense. If it's created, it has a beginning. So how are you going to ask me if God can give a beginning to something that doesn't have a beginning? So your question is wrong. You have a blunder here. I can't say no because God is not weak. And I can't say yes because a creation can't be beginningless. So the question is an invalid question. You are asking about the impossible. The intellectually possible is that whose, yani, which, that which its existence, the mind conceives at one point in time, and its non existence, the mind conceives at another point in time, such as the entire creation. Yani all of the creation. Meaning, possibility means could be or it could not be. Someone asks you, uh, you're going to do that? You might say possible, meaning I might or I might not. It could be or it might not be possible. It's possible. That's what possible means. Or someone would ask you, is it like this? And if you were to say, that's possible, you might say, well, what is it? Tell them, I just answered you. It's possible. That means it might be or might not be. It could be or could not be. Either way is something the mind accepts. Okay, so uh, uh, such as the entire creation, yani all the creation, everything in the universe, me, you, all the things around us. At one time we didn't exist, now we exist. Even the miracles of prophets, they are possible to the mind. And paradise and hell, and the enjoyment of the grave and the torture of the grave, and prophets and revealed books and angels and jinn. All of this is possible to the mind. Some person would say, I don't believe in jinn. Say to him, you don't have any reason to deny the existence of the jinn. And they say, I never saw one. Say, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist though. This not sound. Your mind is not sound. Or someone might say, I don't believe in hell. You tell them, you have no reason to deny the existence of hell. He would say, I never saw it though. You never saw it. None of us ever saw it. Say to him, that's not in itself a proof that it doesn't exist. Rather say, I never saw hell. Don't say it doesn't exist. Don't say I deny its existence. You also didn't deny. You never, Yani, you never, you don't have any proof. You don't have a proof. Okay. I'm trying to keep the answer brief here. We're able to talk here a lot about these intellectual proofs, intellectual judgments. I want to stick to the book. Any question? Someone says, I was teaching a sister and she said that intellectual possibilities are not hadith nor the Quran. I was so sad because I felt like my mind was stuck. I explained that the religion and the intellectual proofs do not contradict one another. How would you respond to someone who says something like that? If someone were to say, intellectual possibilities are not hadith nor the Quran. I would say, Yani, that statement itself for me is not even clear, to be honest with you. The intellectual possibility is not the hadith and it's not the Quran. I don't know what that's even supposed to mean. So I might say, so I would say, I don't know what that means. And then I'll see what the person says. I'll let the person respond from there. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. Uh, I wouldn't necessarily ask the person, what do you mean by that? I would say, that's not clear for me. I don't know what you mean. And then if the person wants to elaborate, they're going to elaborate on their own. But maybe the person would say, it's okay, just continue. And then I'll continue. Or I will maybe just clarify more. Question: what is the approach when explaining the attributes of God to a group of kids, 5 to 8 year olds? And some of them usually have many questions in understanding who the creator is. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. For me, it's just explaining it to them like I would explain it to anyone else. They will understand. In my experience, they understand. I never saw some kids don't understand, even if they're little. Just keep it yani basic. Toyib, question 20. What is the meaning of this statement? Allah does whatever He wills. My answer to that is it means whatever Allah willed to be shall be, and whatever He did not will to be shall not be. But there's what's in that answer then? If I say like that, there's a circle in there. So if I want to avoid a circle in answering this question, what is the meaning of this statement? Allah does whatever He wills. Seems that based on my initial answer that I just gave you, if I don't, I don't want to answer here with a circle. So then maybe I need to think for a moment. That's valid. If you need to pause and think and just think for a moment and leave the person there waiting for you, that's fine. So then I might say to him, the meaning of Allah does whatever He wills is Allah is entitled to do anything, and He is not unjust for doing anything. That's how I would answer that. He has the right to do anything, and He is not unjust for doing anything. I feel like that could use some clarity. I might add to that answer. For example, who is the one who makes some babies come out deformed or sick? Who is the one who creates earthquakes and tidal waves, tsunamis? Allah. He is not wrong for creating these things. He does whatever He wills. Well, let's see what the answer is here. It says the meaning of Allah does whatever He wills is Allah has the power to bring into existence whatever He eternally willed to exist. Okay. There's a circle there, though. Nothing makes Allah powerless from doing that, and no one prevents Him from doing it, nor does He need assistance from others. I find it a fine answer, though. Question: what about there is no thing to prevent Allah from doing anything? I, I think that's a fine answer. Allah said in Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayah 253, وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَا اقْتَتَلُوا وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَفْعَلُ مَا يُرِيدُ. And if Allah had so willed, and if Allah had so willed, they would not have fought one another. They would not have fought with one another, or they would not have fought one with another. Yani, yeah, it's clear for me that the translator, his English is not his first language. I got used to how Arabs speak English, like when they translate in their own minds. And if Allah had so willed, but He's good though. He's, he's good in English. Don't don't misunderstand what I'm saying. And if Allah had so willed, they would not have fought one another. But Allah does what He willed. Yes. Yeah. And that's the answer to another question. Do you have a proof? Do you have a reference? Yes, this ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah. And also, Allah said in Surah Hud, verse 107, Inna rabbaka fa'alul lima yurid. Allah does whatever He willed. Indeed, your Lord is doer of whatever He wills. Wallahu a'lam. Let's stop there.